Hiring your first employee is a real big step, and my part of this is the workers' compensation insurance. It's something that people try and avoid if they can, but you really can't. It's a state law. When you avoid it, there's big penalties. Anybody that hires an employee has to furnish work comp insurance by state law. The law is the same in every state, just little different rules and nuances. If you don't have work comp and you get caught, the fine is $1,000 per employee per week that you didn't carry the coverage. I can go back. There was an establishment across the street from the Metrodome some years ago, not that long ago, that didn't carry insurance for over 52 weeks. Had 21 employees. I think they actually settled it out for somewhere in the neighborhood of $75,000 or something like that, but it was a stiff penalty. And it's important because one of those people slip, fall, back injury, surgery, it's a $100,000 claim. And if you don't have insurance, they don't come and help you out. They just fine you, make you buy the insurance, and that injury, the surgery, the lost time, the disability payments are all on you as the business owner. So then work comp becomes, or looks, pretty cheap at that point. That's the scary end of it. The other side of it is just to make the plans to buy it and get it done correctly. Properly classified, the payroll's estimated properly, and finding a good agent is part of that. We sell through the independent agency system, SFM, and then through me, I have a direct agency within the company. Mike Happy is the name you see on the magazine. That he's off golfing someplace. Let Greg do it. Concept, so we need to change the pictures or anything. Here we go. Covered that already. Finding a good agent is important. If they'll talk to you on the phone or set an appointment, that's a pretty big issue, because when you really need them, that's what you're going to want to have happen. There's two markets in Minnesota. The voluntary market is an insurance company like SFM, Travelers, name, I don't know, there's got to be 500 companies that do business in Minnesota. And then there's the assigned risk plan, which is the state's version of, you can't buy insurance from the standard market, but you have to carry it, so we'll provide it through this plan. That plan is administered by 3 companies. SFM Risk Solutions, which is one of our subsidiaries, bid, and we do 1/3 of it. Berkeley, who traditionally used to have the whole thing, they have 1/3 of it, and RTW now has 1/3 of it. So it's kind of split. They try and keep it as even as they can throughout the year.
If you're in the assigned risk plan, you get to order that you just get.
You're assigned. Okay. That's why they call it the assigned risk program. And it's more expensive, 25 to 30% more than the standard market. So it behooves you to try and find an agent or a carrier that will write you in the standard market. In most cases, it's pretty easy to do right now with the insurance market conditions, even if you're a small policy. At least it is for me, because I'm pretty easygoing about that stuff, and as long as it doesn't get too complicated, we'll work out a policy for you on a pretty easy basis. A lot of companies are accepting small business and new businesses that didn't do it before. It used to be if you didn't have a year worth of business experience, they didn't want to deal with you. Somewhat changed. Not all, but somewhat changed. If you're having problems, at least give myself or my assistant a call, Sharon. 952-838-4337. I give her number out all the time because I'm not in the office as much as I should be. But, the other thing that I'll mention, if you're writing things down, www.sfmic.com. We are the work comp experts. We have a lot of things that we think is proprietary, but we don't treat it that way. You can go to our website, you can go to resources, and you can get a lot of resources for free. These legal advisories like this, you can upload them and print them off. The comp talks that look like this in there on all these different subjects, and it'll list all the subjects down. So if you have questions like that, you feel free to go in there and use it. And then if you can't find your answer, then call us, and we'll still search it out. The assigned risk plan, again, too, the services are a little bit lighter. It takes you at least 48 hours usually to get a certificate of insurance for somebody. Where in the standard market, the agent or the company, we usually provide it. I don't know, we get most of ours out when somebody calls or emails us, we just turn around and push it back out the door for them. So it goes real fast, and that can be important when you're doing a contract or business deal. There's a few stumbling blocks that come up with new businesses and small businesses that I want to cover today with you. Maybe one of the most important is who's insured. Because in Minnesota, in a small business, less than 11 and a half full-time equivalent employees or 20,000 man-hours a year, you don't have to be covered as an owner or partner. You're automatically excluded. Then you have to include yourself if you want to be covered. My advice to you as an agent, not as a company person, because they don't like risk anyway. But as an agent, I tell my business owners, first of all, you said you had health insurance, big deal. In the health insurance policy, there's a clause that says if you're injured in the course of work, this policy doesn't cover you. And then all that'd do would be to cover you for your medical anyway. Now you got a little lost time or a disability from a car accident or a slip fall or something. Tough luck. It's relatively cheap because you're usually covered as a clerical person, office person, or maybe a sales class. If you're out traveling around and about a lot, then we'll put you in the sales class. Very seldom are you going to be the welder or the roofer or anything like that anyway, so it's relatively cheap coverage when you consider the amount of work that the owners end up doing a lot of work that nobody sees. I know that for a fact. So remembering that your parents work for you, they can be excluded too. Your wife or your husband, they're excluded too. You have to include them back in if you want them covered. However, if you do let coverage, or your children, there's some minimums on that. So we had a kid that made $500 one year, and then they were surprised to find out that the payroll that went in for a minimum was $12,500. Well, we didn't pay him that much. I says, I know, but the rules are this, and that's what was on your policy to begin with. So that kid, I don't think he ever worked there again. He wasn't worth the $500 to begin with, I guess. So there's little things. Again, you can always ask an agent or ask us about that. Once you get to 11 and a half full-time equivalent employees, everybody's covered and all the payrolls included up to a maximum for the owners. The maximum is the state max, which right now is, I think, around $86,500. If you make more than that, we don't charge any premium on that payroll. Otherwise, you've got a crack salesman working for you and they're making $250,000 a year, even though you're only making $50,000, their payroll would go in at that $250,000, $1.5 million, or whatever they're going to make. That's what it's charged. There's no limit on that payroll.
Well, what's the 86.5 you just said?
The 86.5 is the maximum for owners.